the title says, I wrote it, but I honestly don't think that Diablo 3 sucks. Then again, since I began to sink dozens of hours into it at launch, I've not been inclined to pick it up again. But you can't ignore all the people on Twitter who are talking about how much better the game is with its update and the impending Reaper of Souls. So let's talk the latter and how it's making Diablo 3 worthwhile again. Your first pretty clear indicator that Diablo 3 is worth your time again is our glowing review that you can find on GameSpot, which we updated just last week. The changes in gameplay and refinement from patch 2.01 are significant and impressive. One way Reaper of Souls is set to bring back the awesome is by making loot matter again. With Loot 2.0, not only are the most impressive items legendaries again, but it's also a little more complicated than just equipping the sword with bigger numbers than the other sword. As opposed to classic Diablo 3, gear has a little more sway on your chosen skills. So, for example, some items offer up hefty damage bonuses to certain skills that make you pay a whole lot more attention to item details and not just their stats. Not only that, but you might want to switch up your skills due to some pretty exceptional items, bringing variation to your playstyle. You can read more about that in Caro's article on breathing life back into Diablo 3 with Reaper of Souls, which you can find on GameSpot. Next up, the auction house is gone, and whilst that's not really the result of Reaper of Souls, it should make the gameplay a darn sight better. Basically, that'll mean all those legendaries you're picking up and the awesome loot from my first point are ultra valuable, because the only way you'll be obtaining this stuff is through your own heroic efforts and not by sacrificing your bank account. Alright, so an awful lot of these do happen to be about loot, but that's Diablo 3 for you. So let's talk the new adventure mode, which coincidentally is the new best way to get loot. Really need someone to give me $1 every single time I say that. Adventure mode is a very flexible way for you to play solo or with friends for 15 minutes or hours. You can either pursue quick bounties that involve slaying this and that from exclamation point laden NPCs, or if you have some more time, do 5 of those to access a rift. Rifts are multi-level dungeons which take randomness to a whole new height by mashing up monsters, lighting and tile sets so that all floors can be totally different. As you expect, this then all culminates in a unique boss fight, which is exactly where you want to be if you're after the sweetest loot in the game. Speaking of random, the art of randomness is one of the best things about Reaper of Souls. The introduction of the holy powered melee fighting crusader is intriguing, and the promise of an entirely new act is exciting, albeit expected from an expansion, but it's the refinement of Diablo 3's gameplay elements which will be the real pullback. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that this is one of those games that you're playing for the combat and the loot chase and not so much the story. I think because of that, one of the best things about Reaper of Souls will be exploring Diablo 3 as a randomized environment instead of a predictable world, which gets old really fast and kills off replayability. In Act 5, Westmarch now resembles something of the Elder Scrolls RPGs because all of the zones are completely unpredictable. Is all of this good enough for you though, and what do you need out of an RPG to stay interested? You can let me know all of your thoughts and feelings either in that comment section down below, or you can do so on my Twitter where I'm at Jess McDonald. Last week I talked to you guys about my 3DS and why I reckoned that should be your next console purchase. Some of you, like Jay Macias on YouTube, completely agreed with me and said, damn, she's absolutely right. While others were like Kaiser Clark, who didn't really see the point in handheld and said, why don't we just play on our mobile phones? A lot of you guys wanted to express your support for the Vita as your handheld of choice, so fair enough on that one. It certainly does have some cool games. Then there were those of you who were thoroughly convinced by my 3DS pitch but didn't have the money to go out and buy yourself one, so for those of you who are in that situation, I apologize. Those are all the things that I have to say to you today, but be sure to leave me all of your thoughts in the comments and I'll catch you again next week.